All right. So today we have a Q&A session, and not too difficult questions, but can be quite a lot to discuss. Okay, let's just go. Okay. Can you all see right now? Right now, hold on. All right. Okay, yeah, can see, yeah. Okay. Well, sorry. Bhante, during sitting meditation, I experienced some weight on the shoulder, neck strain and tight, breath become faster, squeeze at the stomach and back of the head, etc., until the whole body as if reduced to be a skeleton. Only a skeleton sitting there to meditate. I felt sad and tears starts rolling until time's up. Bhante, why is it seems just a skeleton? Is my practice correct? Yeah. All right. Now, sometimes when our meditation experiences and also when our mindfulness starts to deepen, and then when we notice a lot of objects of the body, and this experience of dukkha, it manifests in many different ways. Now, more than often than not, that you experience pain in the body, like in the buttock, in here, there, pulling, and everywhere. But this type of feelings, this type of sensation, sometimes it triggers off the mental aspect also, because they are also in a kind of a conditioning. So they condition the nature of the mind to being sort of like being aware of the body as if, like, for some people like a skeleton, for like you, it may be a skeleton. For some people, maybe like a dead body. For some people, maybe a corpse of a bloated corpse, or this type of this way or that way, So this one is perfectly all right. These are just only the extension of dukkha experience only. Okay, so these are, as I said, these are extension of a dukkha experience. What you should do is right now is that you be aware of it. You be aware of it. Be aware of it as skeleton, 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 or notice that if the tears and sadness comes coming in, then you notice the tears also. If you are not used to it, sometimes this type of images, makes us fearful. We make us fearful that our meditation is going somewhere wrong. It will be wrong if you begin to reject the experiences, or you begin to become too sad or become too anxiety about it, then those experiences become, it's sway out from the vipassana. So if you want to stay with the vipassana, just be aware of that, of the skeleton that comes up, or sometimes very ugly experiences coming up. Then take notice of it. So the tears come out, pay attention to it also until the time's up for that sitting. So it is perfectly all right. It's perfectly all right. Just make sure that you keep noting it. It's, as I said, it's just an extension of the dukkha, the experience of dukkha only. Some people actually have more, some people have less, So it's perfectly quite okay. All right, next question. Okay. Bhante, number one, a nun or a sayali after death can they donate their body to hospital centers to offer to the training doctors for doing their experience or experiments, I think. Number 2, will this offering is an offense or appropriate? Thanks. No. It's perfectly all right, even for a Sayalaya, for a nun, for a monk also, even for all of you, if you want to donate, it doesn't matter. Once you're dead, you're no more nun already. You're reborn in the next life or wherever you are already. So that body, you can do anything. That body, of course, the devotees or your family members can do anything. If you tell them beforehand that you want to donate this body to the centers for all these experiences, for all these experiments, it's perfectly all right. It's not a problem at all. It's perfectly okay, and it's actually a worthy experience. It's a worthy, your last dana, in a way. And it's in a way, as I said, is your last dana. After death also, there's something you can still contribute. So that's perfectly all right. Now, some people also, they wish to donate their organs and so on. That is perfectly all right. There's nothing to do with Vinaya or this or that. So this is not an offense at all. All right. Okay, the next one. Next one is a little bit more. Also on death also. Okay. Okay. Bhante, when I knew of someone that I know died, I felt sad and unhappy. Then a thought occurred to me, such as, if my own family died, I would feel really sad and deep in sorrow. What should I do to prevent myself drowning in a long, deep sorrow? Let's go to number 2 first. Bhante, I'm scared to reborn in woeful states after this life, because even now, when I'm still not old, my mind is messy and disorganized. I can't imagine how my state of mind when I'm older. If I near to death, I'm not sure that I can even have a wholesome thought. How to trigger a wholesome thought at that near-death moment? Okay, good. Okay. Now, the person who questioned this, the person is only about in the 20s. people in the 20s. Or maybe at the end of 20s, or maybe just a bit early 30. But I think it's more like somewhere in the 20s. And already in the 20s, can start thinking of this type of question. Tell me, when you are in your 20s, what were you thinking? Most of you be thinking of having a career, having a boyfriend or having a girlfriend, get married, have children. All these type of things. But this one is already in the 20s and you can already think of such a thing. And they say that at least they know. And I mean, to say that the mind is messy and disorganized, I don't think so. You can think much straighter than while you are those days. Anyway, we go back to question number 1. Now, what should I do to prevent myself drowning in a long, deep sorrow when death occurs? If my own family died, or if you know someone that you know that died, what can we do with that? What can we do for death so that, have you been an actor or actress before, in your past? Like a school play, that you have to be all these things. When you want to be an actor or actresses, before you go on to your stage, You got to do a lot and a lot of rehearsal to get everything right. Uh, uh. Sometimes, for example, like not only like this, if you are like right now, like for example, is an Olympics right now going on. For example, if you are a runner, if you are a diver, if you want to come to the stage of an Olympic and you want at the starting point, you know how much of a training that you have gone through. When you are in the stage of an Olympics, it takes you years of training just for you to finish that 100 meter in maybe for world record less than 10 seconds. How much have you done for it in order for you to come to that particular time and for you to achieve whatever that you want to achieve? So to the same thing, before we come to that stage, before we want to come to death, we have to have a lot of rehearsal already. No such thing as when you come to death, that if you don't rehearse, inverted comma, if you don't rehearse it, then your death will be real messy. So how should we do? What should we train? What should we train while we are still alive? And we have to train a lot. Not one time, not twice. So how do I prevent myself from drowning in a long, deep sorrow? There are a number of things that the Buddha said that we have to reflect daily. Even for monastics or even for as lay people like you all. So there are the Buddha says there are 5 things we should frequently reflect on. What should we reflect on? Number 1, we should reflect on what? Illness. Or sickness. You reflect on, I'm not free from this sickness. Sickness will come. Right now we think that we are strong and healthy, but it's good that we remember that anytime we can be sick. One of the push for me to become a monk is because of this sickness. Because in some of my jobs, before I was a monk, sometimes I need to go to the hospital frequently because I deal with some medicine and so on, and blood tests and so on, a number of things. I have to go to a hospital frequently, and I see there are old people, there are young people, and if you go to a pediatric clinic or pediatric ward, even they're just born, they are already gone into sickness already. So sometimes we have to bring about that remembering about this sickness, ill health, and so on. That when we can able to do that in a very clear, mindful, open manner, not in a morbid mental state. Not in a morbid mental state. Morbid mental state means just like we Chinese, 講到 death only, so much fear. 講到 sickness only, so much fear. Don't talk about it. You talk about it after you get it, they'll tell you. That type of mentality, it's what we call very close-minded. A lot of this pantang and all this fixated views. Just like when I talk about the on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I talk about the mind has to be flexible, the mind has to be soft, the mind has to be light. In one of them, that I said that if your mind is always fixed to a certain way of thinking, especially the what is supposed to be reflected openly, but due to don't have the right understanding, right knowledge, then we think of things very narrowly. That we cannot think about death, we cannot talk about sickness, Or some people, they go into hiking and so on. They dare not even talk about snake, and things like that. I've seen these people, that terrible. Snake is part of the nature, but you want to hike, and yet you're afraid of snake. You're in their environment, recently, every now and then, there are snakes comes to Peace House, at the back. And I welcome it. I don't want to chase it away. Let it stay there. But I mean, a small snake is a grass snake. I know it's not poisonous, but I let it stay there. Every now and then it comes and it changes its skin, and it leaves the skin there. And I purposely leave the skin there. I don't even want to take away. Because why? Because when I leave it there, then all the birds don't come. They're very good. They don't shit around at my Peace House. Leave it there. So anyway, illness. We have to reflect on illness a lot. That we will fall into illness or sickness or our ill health and so on, and there will be what you call a rehearsal, that we reflect on it again and again. Not myself, that also the people that you love around you also will fall into ill health. Then what is number two? Number two is old age. Number two is old age. We have to again here. We have to reflect on old age. What is old age? The Buddha gave the definition of old age. When your hair is already gray or white, or your eyes already not able to see properly, or your hearing is already some problem, or your strength is already starts to become more feeble. You cannot do the things like what you can do in the past. All of you here, look at all of you, even though you're 70s, but your hair is still so black. You know lah, yeah? But anyway, the thing is that you have to reflect on it. When you see on it, because of our sense of vanity, our attachment to beauty very strongly, that a lot of times we don't want to see our wrinkles, our old age, our beauty has already slowly going and disappearing. More, this one is connected with the female. Male, yes, also, but not that much. Not that much. Less. They've got other things they are vain. They have other things that they are attached to, but beauty have less. For women, yes. So anyway, so old age here, again, we have to reflect on it. We reflect on it that as long as we are living, we will not be free from old age. We will be rolling on, as long as we born, we'll be rolling on towards old age. So that also you have to keep on remembering again and again. Those days, sometimes I look at my parents when I was in the young, maybe like 10 years old. I look at my parents, they are maybe in their late 30s or 40s, I was thinking that, wow, how long will I be at their age? Must be still very long time. But now, you see, we are already at their age already. And when I look at them, when they are in the 60s, 70s, again, sometimes I think, when I'm going to be there, I'm just rolling on to it only. Um, so too, all of us are like that. So this is again is our rehearsal, our reflection again and again and again and again. And what is next one? Death. Again, this one we have to remind ourselves that death eventually will come. Now, if you are in your 20s and you are already talking about illness, death, and so on, it will be good because most of the people, they don't think about these type of things when in this stage. They think about having a good time because the body is strong. The body is you can you have the ability to do a lot of things. Then it will be good that we think of death, we reflect on death again and again, frequently. Frequently, we should reflect on these things. Again, not with the morbidity, but with the openness of mind. What is number 4? Separation from the loved ones. Okay. Again, here, separation from the loved ones. They are separate in the sense of death, or separate in the sense of they go somewhere else. They go in another part of the world. They stay another country, another state. Then you will be separated. Nowadays, of course, with this Zoom and everything, how far you are again, you are halfway around the world. We can still see each other, virtually only, But a lot of times right now, sometimes we crave for, whether you like it or not, we crave for social, not distancing, the opposite of social distance, social togetherness, whatever you want to call it. You want to be together, you want to talk to people, you want to be happy, and so on. Because so long, perhaps, for some of you cannot meet your friends, cannot meet your family, and so on, right? So, nevertheless, here, separation from loved ones, it means that it's more like permanent, that they are separated in sense of death. And with the separation comes in, if you are not ready, there will be a lot of sorrow and anxiety and sadness and grief. I've seen a lot. I've seen sometimes Buddhist devotees which when their Dhamma is not that strong, when their loved ones or their wife pass away, their husband pass away, they feel so sad, so deep into it. Sometimes as a monk, because they are somewhat in the Buddhism, when they see the monk, they sort of like they want to let go their grief and everything. Then we also must know how to counsel them a little bit in order to ease their sorrow. But why is it so strong? First of all, because when the time are together, they don't reflect on they're going to separate one day. They know, like in the back of their mind, they know, but they are not really touch the heart, don't really touch the heart with a clear manner. So when it comes to the actual real time when you're separated, the heart is so painful, so torn apart. What's the 5th one? 5th one again, here is karma as the air. Karma as the we are the heir of our own karma. We are the owners of our own karma. Here again, our actions, our behavior, our attitude, our thoughts, our speech, our words, those things you will have to carry in this life and also towards your next life. You come with nothing and you go with nothing. Sometimes in the past, there are some devotees, they are very rich, and sometimes they're rich, they're rich, their wealth gets into their head, they become a bit proud. Sometimes in order for us to give them a simile, that sometimes we tell them when it comes to your death, we told the devotee, when it comes to your death, you know what we're going to do with your coffin? If you ask us to come to your chanting, we will drill 4 holes, We'll drill 4 holes, that we're going to put your hands or your palms out now on the 2 holes on the where your palms can go up, and also and your legs there, also another 2 holes. I put it out. So your coffin will close your body, but your hands are only hanging out there. To show to everybody, no matter how rich you are, you go also with the empty-handed. Nothing you can take. How good would that be? As to remind everybody that our wealth and everything, we cannot take it along. We can only take along our karma. So here, we reflect on this again and again, and it's good that many times I in the society when Buddhist devotees sit together, they talk about a lot of other things, but also they talk about illness, old age, death, reminding each other and so on, which is in a way, slowly it goes into the mind and it becomes more accepting of all these 5. When you become more accepting, your mind more open, you can able to talk over it, you can able laugh over it, which is good. Yeah. So this one is good. Now, as a meditator, when you reflect these things, another thing which is good for to do is again is this mindfulness. Mindfulness, and you develop for a while, after for some time, you'll find that it's much more easier when it comes to dealing with all these 5. So much more easier. Without mindfulness, without a clear mindfulness, without a strong mindfulness that you have developed in the past, then if you don't have those things, it's going to be difficult. Without this mindfulness, it's going to be difficult. Now, during the hindrances, when I talk on the hindrances, I talk about sometimes there are people who goes into meditation, and then you remember the past events, or somebody died and so on. While even in the sitting also, the tears keep on coming out because it's so affecting them. Even in the meditation, what more when they are not in meditation? As I said, I said also, if you keep on able to develop that mindfulness in the long run, then that mindfulness will begin to take over the grief or the sadness or the anxiety or the sorrow, instead of, it will take over the sorrow, the grief. Your memory of the past will not be erased, will not be erased. You still can remember the difficult times, the difficult events. But because of the mindfulness has taken over the present mind. Instead of sorrow, instead of grief, it replaces it with a wholesome mind. And therefore, that time, your grief become very little or not at all. Or your sorrow, you go into a sorrow, but very fast you can able to come out from it. So this is important for us to remember. We talk about this thing a lot, about this mindfulness. Now, in the near death, as question number 2, You don't wait until the near-death moment. You want to hold some thoughts. You see, some of you may be Abhidhamma, and we talk about like last thought moment, those type of things. Last thought moment is very much academic only. Academic, that means it's just only for thinking only. Because at the last thought moment, a lot of us may not able to control it. Because you do not know how you will die. You will die, but you do not know how you will die. Will you die in a car accident? Or you will die in your own bed? Or you will die in a hospital? Or you die somewhere in the jungle, nobody knows. How are you going to die? You do not know how you're going to die. So when the time comes, near death, you cannot do anything much about it. But what you can do is your whole life right now, from here onwards, from past onwards, you can have to keep on doing a lot of wholesome deeds, a lot of wholesome action, wholesome speech, wholesome attitude, and then prevent all the unwholesome ones, and then purify the mind and so on. So that when you come to the death moment, there will be higher chances that your mind will incline to a wholesome thought. You can only do that. Then whether what the wholesome thought will come, that it will be your inclination. If you are a person who loves to steal, or loves to cheat others, or loves to lie to others, and you do it frequently, as if like lying and cheating does not matter at all because it makes you happy, or you thought that it make you happy. So when you come to the death thought moment, the last thought moment, what do you think? What type of chances will be higher? What type of thoughts will be higher? Surely it depends on your inclination. And if you do a lot of wholesome deeds, thinking about wholesome thoughts and everything wholesome, and you begin to purify your mind, then when it comes to the death moment, near death moment, then the mind will be easily inclined into it. So again, here, as I said, last thought moment is a very academic thing. Sometimes there are people who learn about last thought moment. They want the last thought moment to be good, but their whole life, and they do all kinds of nonsense. And then because they study Abhidhamma, they need the last thought moment good, because last thought moment good, you can reborn in a better place of existence. No, it's a lot to do with while you're still alive. So while you are in this way, when your mind able to think of wholesome deeds and this one, your mind will be less messy, less disorganized, definitely. If you right now at the 20s, you can able to think of this, it's very good already, actually. It's very good. It's very, for people nowadays, it's very good already. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Next question. Now, next question is going to be a bit difficult to understand because of the writing, the way this one is being formed. It's very difficult to understand for some of us. I also have hard time just to understand what you wrote because your English is. Later, the second question is more this one. Bhante, in observing sati, when the awareness is heightened and the mindfulness appears, when there's wanting for mindfulness to sustain, there is an expectation. Can Bhante explain if mindfulness is defined as physical attribute or really the point that pivoted as sensing of non-physical present? I really don't understand your question here. 我不懂. Anyway, let's go with your little bit of an explanation on the top there. When the awareness is heightened, the mindfulness is when there's one thing for mindfulness to sustain, there's an expectation. Okay. Not to say that you are not right, not to say that you are wrong or you are right, You see, whenever we want to meditate or we want to do anything, there is an expectation. An expectation, there is always some craving. No doubt about it. Whether you want to talk about it, you want to cover it up, but no doubt about it. But the Buddha says there are two types of suffering. There are two types of suffering. One suffering leads to more suffering. One suffering leads to less suffering. Okay? This is the first noble truth, in a way, Then therefore, there'll be a second noble truth. Because in the second noble truth is the craving. That means there are craving that leads to more suffering, and that craving leads to more or leads to less suffering. Right? If you look at it that way, it is also, in a way, in its expectation. But if we don't do anything, then we're not going to be able to progress anywhere at all. So, but don't say that, but don't put it in a way that craving is something wholesome, As I said, there are craving who don't bring you to woeful states. No. Their craving will bring you to a higher, even into a Deva world, into a Brahma world, But it will keep you in samsara only, It will keep you in samsara, but it may give you less suffering. So if you are a practitioner, if you are a meditator, and your goal is towards Nibbana, then we practice, we keep on going through, we keep on sustaining that mindfulness, we keep on developing the mindfulness until we can eradicate everything. We can eradicate everything. So this is what it meant by in our practice. We do not want to confuse all of you until you become an arahant, or when you reach arahanthood, then only you realize that craving is totally gone. That expectation that this one is only, it can gone from there. Other than that, you don't even know. And it's okay that you don't know about it. Although right now it's again academic only, You may rationalize it, but when actually you meditate, you don't even know. But if you don't do anything, because if you don't do anything, you will not go any more further. Just like, for example, if you want to climb a ladder, if you want to climb higher, you got to hold one, and then you got to let go the bottom one. Then you got to put up your hand, hold the higher one, and the other one you got to let go. You got to go until you reach to the top, and then we let go everything. Some meditation is something like this. So I do not know what you mean by physical attribute, but this is definitely, mindfulness is not something physical, but its sense physical and its sense mental. It can be directed to noticing mentality and noticing physicality. I'll put it in this one. Number two. Okay. Question 2. Then after that, okay. It's a very long one. Question 2. In the context to sati and upekkha relationship, okay. That the balancing of effort and tranquility is pivoted upon sati that results in seeing faith and wisdom conduct an array of projections and possibility. It was interesting that Bhante mentioned upekkha as an auxiliary role to smoothen this balance for the mind to flow towards one direction as concerted focus to keep a sustained attention. Okay. Are our projections as expectations actually hindering the possibility to discover the truth of this false view of self and its relational beliefs as influence that distort and refract the balance of being. Do we see the good and bad we uphold and believe the actual cause for karma and vipaka when the nature of meditation drives us towards a neutral outlook of non-attachment to either good or bad, as they both are equally a judgment from the mind that's not balanced but rather biased and indoctrinated? Okay. For some of you, it's very difficult to understand what it meant. I have to read this thing for several times only, then only I understand. Now, next time you want to question something, don't put it in such a, the English is so long that from do we see the good until biased and indoctrinated, you see how many words are going on and there's a question mark. And sometimes like that, you confuse a lot of things. It would be good that we have a shorter sentences that and a shorter this one. If you can next time able to summarize it. Now, okay, let us focus on. Let us talk about this. First of all, I do not understand what is meant by array of projection and possibility. The balancing factor upon sati result of faith and an array of projection of possibility. Okay, doesn't matter. Our projection as expectation, hindering the possibility to discover the truth of this false view of self and relational beliefs as influence that distort and refract the balance of being. Okay. Now, don't put it into such a big words. The whole purpose of practice is to finally eradicate this false view. Eradicate false views, false beliefs. While we are meditating, okay, for most of us, when things are going smoothly, when the mind is in the state of balance and noticing everything, you don't see the false view. You don't see the wrong belief that you hold on, because at that moment of time, that false view is not there. Okay, the false view is not there. It may be latent in you, but at that moment when there's mindfulness and there's upekkha, then it is not there. You see, the latent unwholesome mental states, like false views or sensual desire or anger, those things you cannot eradicate by thinking. You cannot eradicate by your moral behavior, your wholesome behavior of five precepts and so on. You cannot eradicate those things, and you cannot eradicate by thinking. You only can eradicate them by keep on noticing the true nature of mind and body or what is going on, and keep on developing until the path factor, the path consciousness, pala, magga and pala. Then that magga will only do the eradication of it only. You don't have to confront a false view while you're meditating. You don't have to confront those like sensual desire. For example, for some people thought that in order to eradicate sensual desire, we must stir up the sensual desire, look at it in the eyes, and then we chop the head off. Like that. Just like you can have a false view, you look at it in the eyes, you chop its head off. No, it's not like that. We don't go and arouse them. While we are meditating, we make them latent. That means they're not there. And thereon, we keep on going and eradicate it when the path and fruition arises. If not, there's no way to eradicate it. You only can suppress it, but it can still grow again when the condition is there. Just like the weed, the lalang, the weeds, and then you cut everything, you dig the ground and everything, And then after 2 weeks later, you see the lalang, you see the weeds all come back again. Same thing with the false view and wrong belief. Of course, when you're meditating, make sure that all this expectation and all this thinking, you put it aside. Keep your mind as simple as possible. But while you're not meditating, of course, when you think about it, be careful also. Don't think too much, because you think overthinking about it, it can distort your own rationality. And sometimes when you distort, things may get from wholesome, it becomes unwholesome. You see again, do we see the good and bad we uphold and believe the actual case for karma and vipaka when the nature of meditation drives us towards a neutral outlook of non-attachment to either good or bad, as they are both equally a judgment from a mind that is not balanced but rather biased and indoctrinated. Now, here, recently when we talk about wisdom, I said that wisdom, there is you learn or you hear. And then the second one, what is the second one? You reflect or you think about it, you rationalize it. And the third one is the direct seeing of it. The seeing of it, the direct seeing of it, not by thinking. Now, you are equating this question. You're equating, you're making them the same, like the rational part and the seeing part that arises from meditation are the same, You thought that by thinking, yes, by thinking, by pondering, you talk about karma and vipaka, and definitely there is certain degree of bias also, because there's certain degree of defilements underlying. There's an underlying tone inside there. One of it is your wrong understanding. There's underlying tone is there. So that is one thing. Now, when it comes into meditation, especially in the vipassana, as I said, you have to let go of that rational thinking, of your pondering and so on, your reflection. If you don't do that, then you will not come to the third aspect of wisdom, which is the seeing or the direct seeing part, the mental development part. Yeah. So when the mental development part, when you can able to develop, you see things not with the biasness of that thinking anymore. You are seeing things as they really are. It is wholesome. The mind can know that it is wholesome. When it's unwholesome, the mind knows that it is unwholesome, not by thinking, but direct experience. That is a lot of difference. That is a difference like a heaven and earth, But you are equating these two together, and that is terrible. Yeah, this is a big difference. Until you really go develop the meditation much more deeper, then only you realize that how shallow all our thinking, our biased thinking, or whatever judgmental thinking, whatever you want to talk. It's very shallow. It's very superficial until we see the true nature of things as they really are. That time when you make a clear understanding, and when you want to make a clear judgment or clear this one, it's based on what you have seen from a mental development. That is a big difference. That is a big difference. So when we see about cause and effect from what you think and from what actually what is actually happened during in the meditation, especially in vipassana, then you see a different light already, totally a different light. So because your question here you are equating both the same thing, but actually they are not the same thing. Okay? Your question 3. Your question 3 is totally out. Because again, this is totally your wrong understanding already, this one. And let us straighten these things out. The term hiri ottappa, often translated as shame and dread in meditative aspect. Hiri Shame is really an unwholesome mental state of unarisen mental thought being projected as feelings form a possible act. While Ottappa dread, the memory recollection of the past action brings a feeling of remorse and guilt. This guilty, remorseful feeling that has occurred needs to be dealt with to remove towards one's meditation, for it blocks sati from being present or sustained. Appreciate your clarification and further insight on this matter, for it brings deeper answers to arising questions within the sitting when attention is placed on contemplate, on investigating, on characteristics of this definition and their implications. Okay. No. First of all, this whole paragraph is totally wrong. Yeah, it's all this whole totally wrong. It's totally wrong. You don't know what you are writing. Wrong in the sense that Hiri and Ottappa is not an unwholesome mental state or unwholesome mental states. Hiri and Ottappa is a wholesome mental state. Xiao or unwholesome mental state. That's why they say sometimes all your thinking and all that becomes all mixed up. And if you go give a Dhamma talk to people and you tell people that Hiri Ottappa is something unwholesome, and the way that you describe these things, and those people may believe you, then a lot of time mind get distorted. Unwholesome karma. This one, sorry to say. So be careful these things. Now, Hiri Ottappa, it's called a moral shame. Moral shame and Ottappa is a moral dread. Not in the English sense of it, because it's hard for us to translate the word Hiri Ottappa. It's more like Hiri is more like a conscience, a moral conscience in us. A moral conscience is in us. That means when there is, for example, when there is an unwholesome thing to be done. For example, there is a thing there, money on the table, for example, and you want to steal it, but your conscience says that, hey, better don't do it. You hold back. That is what we call Hiri. It's called Hiri, a moral shame, as a conscience, as you pull the mind back from performing that unwholesome act. That's called a Hiri. You want to speak something angry towards somebody, then your conscience, hey, my words are not good, Then with that conscience, it holds back from you to open up our mouth. For many of us, we can keep our 5 precepts, but we cannot watch that mouth. Sometimes, such a wonderful, but then it comes into opening their mouth. Even Buddhist devotees are terrible. Very ugly sometimes the words. They thought that just keep the 5 precepts, okay, enough already, you can go to heaven already, but forget about the words and thoughts sometimes. So here, Hiri here is a wholesome mental state that it prevents yourself from performing an unwholesome deed. It's a wholesome mental state. It's not unwholesome, it's a wholesome. Ottappa, or moral dread. Moral dread here, it means it's not a recollection of the past action that give you remorse and guilt. This Ottappa is you aware of the consequences or the vipaka. You're aware of its vipaka. You're aware of this consequence or the resultant. That, for example, if you prevent, for example, if let's say Ottappa become more prominent, and these two comes together. They come together. Sometimes Ottappa becomes more prominent than Hiri. For example, the money is on the table. Then a thought came in, if I were to steal these things, if I were to get caught by them, then it will not be good for me. You're aware of its consequences. You're aware of its vipaka. One, hiri is talking about karma, and ottappa is connected with its vipaka. So when you have hiri ottappa, because they come together, then it prevents you from doing unwholesome action, speech, or this one. If you want to have feeling of remorse and guilt, like what you say here, then it's called ahiri and anottappa, with the A on the hiri, ahiri. Ahiri, and anottappa is anottappa. That is the unwholesome mental state, which is completely the opposite, and then they don't care, don't bother, no conscience, they kill, they steal, they take whatever, they speak whatever, however they want it. Then later on in the future, they will have remorse and they will have guilt. So this is totally, completely wrong. Your this one is completely wrong. It's not about being remorseful. It's to prevent yourself from being remorseful. So because of that, everything cannot be this one. And morality, you need all this morality in the sense of hiri and ottappa. Then only you can able to do the proper practice. If your precepts, if your basic precept, you cannot handle it, you cannot do this one, then it's impossible. It's going to be difficult for you to develop anything with mindfulness or any mental this one. So they are like that. So you need that hiri ottappa. So please, your all this hiri, your understanding of hiri ottappa, you better throw it out far away. Okay, next one. Next one is easy. Just before we go, it's easy, but it's quite a long story. It's easy to understand. It's easy to understand. Okay, let me close this one. Okay. Bhante, do I understand correctly from Mahasi Sayadaw's practical way of insight? There are also arahants who can be obsessed, example, by not being able to provide his novice disciple a place to stay. Okay, now let us go to what is being meant over here. A story is cited. I'm trying to move my picture here. Okay. A story is cited as an example in that Atthakatha. Atthakatha means commentary. It runs thus. Once upon a time, an elder bhikkhu and a novice were residing in a forest monastery. The novice has no place for him to stay, whereas the elder Thera, by precedence, found his accommodation. The elder, being obsessed with this condition and being mentally disturbed all the time, failed to absorb himself in the friction during the entire period of Lent. The word friction here, before we go further, the word friction here means pala samapatti, the absorption into friction. His disciple, the Samanera, however, had spent the time during the Buddhist Lent by enjoying himself in the attainment of friction with delight. At the end of the Lent, the young Samanera asked his teacher, "Venerable Sir, is it suitable for you to stay in this monastery?" To this question, the Mahathera replied, "As far as I'm concerned, it does not suit me." In this story, the Samanera is in fact a Sattata Vihari Arahanta. Hence, although no proper place was available for himself, he could absorb himself in Pala Samapatti as much as he wished. However, As for the Mahathera, he was a no-satata vihari arahanta. Okay. Now, before we read a little bit more further, this satata vihari and no-satata vihari arahanta, what it means is that satata means continuous. Vihari means abiding. Yeah? So literally translation be like continuously abiding, arahant. No satata, which is also Pali, it's not English no, it's without that continuity of abiding, for the Mahathera. Now, here the continuous abiding, it means that the Samanera can enter into Palasamapati quickly, whereas the Mahathera not able to enter the absorption quickly. He has to meditate a lot, only he can able to go into that absorption. Both of them are, although they are, one is a novice, but the novice seems to be able to attain the absorption much more better than an elder and a Mahathera, now, hence, okay, next, just merely because he was worried, just merely because he was all the time worried over non-availability of space for his disciple, he could not absorb in the attainment samapati. For this reason, a noble person who wished to absorb himself in the palasamapati at any moment, as may be desired, should indulge in the practice of insight continuously and carry on contemplating arduously so as to become a satata vihari individual. Okay. So here, one of the things that we can take out from is that an arahant, there are different types of arahant. Two types over here as mentioned. One can enter into the Nibbana quickly. One cannot enter into Nibbana quickly. If one wants to enter into the Nibbana quickly, one has to practice the insight continuously. That means he has to go into a retreat to really practice, a proper place to practice now. Okay? It is said that the elder, being obsessed with this condition of being mentally disturbed all the time, failed to absorb himself in the fruition during the entire vasa. Why is that so? Now, the word obsess here, the word obsess here is because that I think it's a translation error, or maybe it's translation. We use the word obsess here, obsessed, in the sense of a negative form. Just like sometimes we Buddhists also, we use the word desire is in the negative form, but in English, it can be used in the positive form. Just like, for example, that you see here. His disciple, Samanera, however, had spent time during the Buddha's land by enjoying himself in the attainment of fruition with delight some more, Then again here, you may think that, he's now is craving for his attainment, is it? No, it's just usage of English. It's just usage of English here. It is not, again here, the delight of enjoying this is not with craving, because they already eradicate the craving. And then obsess here, again, this is not worried or so on. It's more like the elder Mahathera is concerned for the bhikkhu, for the Samanera, because the Samanera may not have a proper place to stay. And this Mahathera, because he not able to enter into Palasamapati that easily, he has to meditate a lot to have a continuous mindfulness in order for it to able to enter. But because while he's meditating, then he's thinking about the Samanera, and it disturbed the meditation in a way, Then when he disturbed in the meditation in a way, Therefore, he cannot able to go into the Palasamapati, which we go into the absorption. It's because of the condition is not favorable to the Mahatera, to the elder. It's not because of unwholesome mental state. It's a nature of the concern. So too, for example, if you are a arahant, then you have to give talks. You have to do a lot of chanting for people and so on. Then that time also, that arahant cannot go into absorption anytime he wants. He has to give up on all these duties. Go into a proper retreat, go into a proper place and meditate. Then he can go into the fruition or go into the absorption. So too, the same thing here. So the mind is disturbed because of thinking and concerning about the samanera. So it's not in the sense of unwholesome mental state. It is more of a concern. Concern here is not in the sense of unwholesome. Is not in the sense of concern. So it's just like so here the obsess here is just maybe in the sense of translation problem. So it is not that difficult to understand these things. Okay. So anything else? Okay, that's it. No more. Already, 10:10 already. All right. Okay. Let's stop sharing. Okay, we share merits.